Let you put your hands on me in my skin-tight jeans. Be your teenage dream tonight.
Matt, I know it's something that you've talked about a billion times before, but I have to ask it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again. You are now in tune to the sounds of War Weekly here on the Spreaker Web Radio Network, and of course at our website at WrestlingAudioRevolution.com. Sean Michael Cunningham, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you? I'm doing good. Hope you're good.
To give you some old cheesy DDP hyperbole.
Yes.
If I were any better, I'd have to be twins just to contain the joy.
That is DDP hyperbole.
So, Sean Cunningham, it's just the two of us. We can make it if we try.
we should never sing on the air again.
Well, the problem is not our voices. The problem is not our voices. It's not the fact that we can't carry a tune, because we both can. The problem is that there's this lag on Skype.
Yeah.
So no matter what, you know, it's super sloppy whenever you try to sing together. That's the reason why, you know, when we close out every single show and I say Sean Cunningham, you tell him the rest.
Yes.
And you say Wrestling Audio Revolution. Maybe some people think, why did Sean get the line? Why does he get the big closing catchphrase? Why doesn't Luke Force or Shotgun Shan have a catchphrase? The reason being that we used to try to do it all together and it would just be a complete mess.
Yes. So only one of us can do the catchphrase at the end of the show.
Right. And you were the guy.
Well, although when Shan and I did a show together, I believe Shan closed the show.
Weird.
When he and I hooked up together.
Sometimes I feel like Shan really doesn't listen to these shows. Do you ever get that feeling?
I don't know.
Do you ever get the feeling that Shan's more the type to just do it and then, like, he's like that artist. He's like that guy that's just constantly looking forward. You know, he goes in there into the studio, he records the hit record, and then he never thinks about it again. He's already writing the next record, doesn't even listen to the playback. You know, that's Shotgun Shan.
I was going to say, you grew up with him. You'd know more than I would.
Sure. He's mentioned certain things to me before.
Yeah, I know. I was actually going to mention something to you last week, and I didn't get the chance.
Okay, what's that?
Was you mentioned about Blackjack Mulligan and Bo Dallas and Bray Wyatt being Mike Rotunda's, or being Barry Windham's. No, you said Mike Rotunda was Blackjack Mulligan's son.
Yes.
Which is not true.
Sorry, you're right.
He's his son-in-law.
I love being corrected. Okay? I love it. Go ahead.
He is the son-in-law. He is married to Barry Windham's sister. But yes, you're right. Bo Dallas and Bray Wyatt are Blackjack Mulligan's grandchildren.
You're absolutely right. Mulligan is the father of Windham.
Yes.
U.S. Express.
The brief time they were in WWE, everybody looks at it as like this and it was an amazing time just for the time frame, but they really weren't together that long as a tag team.
That's right when I came into wrestling, dude.
Yeah, me too.
That's right. That's some of my earliest memories is seeing the U.S. Express and seeing Danny Spivey.
Yeah, that was the second incarnation.
So I guess at first I was seeing Windham, and I remember them coming out to Real American.
Yep.
You know, the perfect example of being a kid and just kind of the way that you remember things is really weird and disjointed and all this stuff. But they came out to Real American. And I think I already had the wrestling album, the cassette, at that time.
Yes.
And it used to have commentary in between the songs.
Yes. and I have it on CD now. I bought it years ago. And yes, it actually says the song was meant for Windham and Rotunda, not Hogan.
And as dope as some of those songs were, the commentary was even better.
All right, the dog getting down.
Oh my God.
Grab Them Cakes is the dopest song ever.
Ever.
And probably the tune will end up closing this one out. I'd already heard the cassette, and I knew that was Windham and Rotunda's theme. I Am a Real American. Because they even said that in the commentary in between the songs.
Yes.
Derringer, you know.
Yeah.
And then I saw them come out to that theme, and they were feuding with Sheik and Volkov.
Yes.
Around that time.
Yes.
In that short run. And were they on a Saturday night's main event against those guys?
In a 6-man.
Early Saturday night's main event?
Yes.
That's something that I saw. Would it happen to have been the episode or one before or after when Hogan got the splash from Bundy? Is it around that time?
No. Now you're
jumping around.
Now you're crossing your timelines.
Okay, explain then. Where did I go wrong?
You went wrong with I know that the third man on Sheik and Volkoff's team was George Steele because he was still a heel.
Yes.
And that was the night that he became a babyface.
That's right.
But I can't remember for the life of me who Wyndham and Rotundo's third was that night. But they did have a third with them. And like I said, I can't remember who it was.
Well, if you're listening right now and you know who that third was,
let us know.
in the trios match, then yeah, let us know. But bottom line is, by the time this show goes to air, Sean will have already looked it up. So don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We got the network. We can go back and watch it. Is it up there?
Yeah, it'll be there. I think it's I want to say, might have been the first or second.
I think it was the first. It was the
Uncle
Elmer's marriage.
Yes. Oh no, that was the second one.
Okay.
The first one was.
I just can't get anything right today, can I?
No, I you know me, I'm a history major when it comes to this stuff. This is what I do.
Especially for this company.
Oh, yeah, as much as it pains you at times.
It doesn't pain me, especially because this is, certain things you remember like the back of your hand because you lived through them. But meanwhile, I don't remember any of it, so what am I talking about? I'm thinking that Wyndham and Rotunda were on the same one that Hogan got splashed by Bundy and had his ribs all broken.
Oh, Wyndham was long gone by then.
That was long gone. Anyways, my point was, what I remembered as a kid was that I had heard that song on the cassette. I saw them in that match with Sheik and Volkov on Saturday Night's Main Event. Not live, because I was way too young for that, but, my brothers would tape it for me. And we watched it, and I remember seeing them, and I really didn't know Hogan yet. I'd seen him, obviously, but he hadn't really registered with me yet who Hulk Hogan was. I just knew that there was these guys, and there was the really tall blonde guy and the brunette guy, and they were called the U.S. Express. So then when I eventually did see Hogan, which for some reason wasn't on the same show, although I'm sure he was on it. You know how it is when you're a kid, too. You're all over the place. You're in one room, you're out of the room, you're riding a tricycle.
Yes. At that age, you would have been.
This story is actually wrong because it was Danny Spivey. So for some reason, I had seen Danny Spivey and he registered with me before Hulk Hogan did. That's the moral of this story, everybody.
Were you watching NWA at that time?
No, I saw him because I think he had yellow tights too.
Yes, he did.
For a while. And he had a haircut like Hogan.
Okay. To answer our previous conundrum, Ricky Steamboat with Wyndham and Rotunda.
Thank you. Did you look it up or did you just remember?
No, I looked it up.
Thank you. So,
no, I had to look it up.
In a very roundabout way, Danny Spivey registered with me before Hulk Hogan did, and when I saw Hulk Hogan, I thought Danny Spivey had grown a mustache.
That's weird, dude.
Isn't it? Isn't it? But I mean, everything about being a kid is weird. I bought a Brutus the Barber Beefcake shirt the first time I went to wrestling.
Yeah, okay, that one.
Strutting and cutting, it said on it.
There you go.
Like, why?
Yeah, and here I am thinking about buying a Bullet Club t-shirt, but that's a whole other discussion.
Why don't we kind of go into that topic?
Are we gonna talk about the awesomeness that is Tanahashi and Kenny Omega?
I'd love to.
We're gonna talk about that?
There are matches, Sean, that are 5-star matches. But then there are those matches that are even bigger than that. And when we look back at the historical significance, you see what I did there, right?
Very good.
This will be one you talk about in terms of changing the complexion of a promotion and in one night taking a guy that at Wrestle Kingdom was the IWGP Junior Champion, losing his belt to Kushida.
In an awesome match.
In an incredible match. But in just a very short time period, due to some unforeseen circumstances, has now been made. This was a star-making performance.
Absolutely it was.
Tanahashi wrestling with a separated shoulder. The Japanese have this mentality, of tape it up, keep going. One thing that needs to be said for sure, whether you're against him being in the ring right now or whether you respect it and you're okay with it, is that nobody is more dedicated to their company. Nobody is more dedicated to the professional wrestling business, and nobody is more dedicated to being a star maker than Tanahashi in 2016. I have never seen a guy work so hard to get another guy over and make sure that this guy is taken from down here and in one night truly elevated to being now, a top star, the top foreign star in New Japan.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And not that Kenny Omega doesn't have ability, because he clearly does.
Oh, he's incredible. He's incredible.
That match was, like, for a guy who's hurt like Tanahashi, to be able to do everything that he was able to do, unless you notice the tape on his shoulder, you'd never know he was hurt.
But yeah, by no means am I downplaying Kenny Omega, because he is the real deal. I mean, he has this very unique charisma, a very unique look. I think within the first few seconds, the Bullet Club members that were at ringside, it was, I know it was Yujiro.
Yujiro, Cody Hall, and
Tama?
At first was
or Fale.
the three.
Yes,
Fale at first. And he told them to leave.
Very early on.
Very early, yeah.
So it wasn't going to be your typical Bullet Club match. Right off the bat, they kind of told you that. And he took the guys outside, and I can't tell what he said, but I know the beginning of what he said started with the smart marks.
The smart marks will think I can't do it, you have to go.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
So anyways, he kicks them out, and he's like, I'm going to go one-on-one with Tanahashi, and they went one-on-one for a long time. Great chemistry between these guys in the ring. One of my favorite moments being when he suplexed Tanahashi from the barricade to the floor where the crowd's sitting, and just landed on a bunch of chairs.
Yep.
And then put on a Naito mask, the War Insider mask that I guess somebody was wearing at ringside, and did a perfect moonsault off the barricade onto Tanahashi. Moonsault press. Eventually the Young Bucks coming from underneath the ring. It seemed as though that was going to be, it's going to be another Bullet Club screw job. This is why he sent them away, because he's got the Young Bucks waiting under the ring. And then it became a situation where that was neutralized by Michael Elgin,
who looked like he was dressed like a sumo at one point.
Yeah, so Elgin comes out and he's able to neutralize the Bucks. Literally carries both of them out of the ring at the same time.
Yes.
So Oshawa's Michael Elgin still proving that he is the strongest man in all of professional wrestling, and taking them out of the match. So once again, it was one-on-one, Kenny Omega versus Tanahashi. And like I say, I hope Tanahashi's taking time off. After that performance and everything he gave. And
how afraid were you when you saw that weird armbar submission thing where Tanahashi's arm was like bent back? And
that's the thing. And they had done an angle on the Thursday show too, where they really beat the shit out of the arm to the point where it felt like, they're taking him out of the match.
Yeah.
Shinsuke really did elevate that belt to being just as important as the world belt. And now that Shinsuke's gone, we've got to be able to keep that title at the same level. We've got to be able to keep the prestige. And you could put him in there with somebody else, but it's not going to mean as much as if you put him in there with Tanahashi. It was the perfect guy to pass the torch for this vacant title. And at the end of the day, Kenny had some interference, but it was a clean finish. Yeah. It was one-on-one, and he gave him those bamayes. They did a lot of tributes to Shinsuke. Tanahashi did sort of the vibration thing in the corner with the boot in the chin and everything.
Now, what did you think of Kenny doing the Styles Clash?
He did this exactly. He did the Styles Clash. Tanahashi was able to kick out of the Styles Clash.
Yes.
He was able to kick out of the Bamaye. He was not able to kick out of the One-Winged Angel.
No.
Kenny Omega's finish is stronger than AJ's finish, is stronger than Shinsuke's finish.
And if those two guys aren't there, then that's exactly what you're supposed to do.
It was just done perfectly, and it was this really weird shift where things went from feeling cold and, oh shit, this is just going to be same old, and this company's kind of ready to take a nosedive, to being like, oh my god, this company's hot again. And it was in one match. It was in one match that everything sort of changed. And Kenny had his moment. And
his post-match promo.
I was so hoping that you weren't in a rush.
No, I was not in a rush.
Okay, there's the finish, and okay, here's a quick little celebration. I get it. I gotta go. I was happy that when I heard you say that you actually watched right till the end.
I did.
Because that was some of the best stuff, was Kenny Omega's post stuff. Singing Katy Perry. Teenage Dream.
And the more English he spoke, the louder they booed him.
Right, and then he'd speak a little bit of Japanese. And then he'd go back to speaking English. And I mean, it's funny because they really do love the guy, but he's such an annoying heel.
But that's what you're that's what you're supposed to do.
Of course, but it's like I really haven't seen an annoying heel like this in a very long time.
No.
So yeah, he got on the mic. He said, "I can do it all. I can talk. I can wrestle. I can sing." I was like, sing? What the? Did he mean to say that? And then all of a sudden he starts singing Katy Perry.
I guess.
You're my teenage dream.
No.
He's talking about how Tanahashi, all these little girls in the crowd, they wanted him to be their Valentine.
Yeah.
But tonight, that's not going to be possible.
I'm your Valentine because I'm the champion.
I'm your teenage dream.
Well, there was like, I don't care if you can't understand me. I'm going to speak English anyway.
And just great. It's just great. And then the greatest part of the whole match, they give out those little Golden Globe things whenever you win a title.
Yes.
You get the title and you get your moment, your
little
coronation, but you get the little trophy. But anyway, so he's got this Golden Globe thing, which really does look like an ice cream cone. So he's coming and he's right at the rampway there, right about to go through the curtain, and he's still celebrating, and he holds up his title, holds up his Golden Globe, and then he puts the Golden Globe to his mouth and he just starts licking it. And then he's about to walk through the curtain and he pokes his head back out and spits. Because again, it's not an ice cream cone. It's
metal.
A metal. It's fake gold,
Yeah.
But anyways.
Well, and if Kenny happens to listen to our show, hey.
Yes. Kenny is a friend of the shows.
That's right.
Kenny is a friend of the shows, and he's not afraid to give us some love on Twitter. So we give it right back to Mr. Omega. This was a star-making performance, and in
Absolutely.
one night, Kenny Omega, like you say, I mean, all that Sean wrote me, ladies and gentlemen, after he watched this, very simple, one sentence. Kenny Omega is a fucking star. I was so happy to read that. I don't know why, but I got goosebumps when I read that text from you. Omega is now the IWGP Intercontinental Champion after beating the top guy in the entire company. And Tanahashi did everything he possibly could and gave everything he had in his body to make sure Kenny Omega became a star after that. So that was very inspiring to me.
It was. But I'm gonna say something very important here.
Go ahead.
Kenny Omega is scheduled to come to ROH for a bit in the trade deals. I know he's booked on a couple of the, maybe even a pay-per-view. New Japan better be careful that they don't lose another one. Somebody's going to see him, and somebody's going to take him.
Mm-hmm. It's true, but he's like a Japanese guy. That's the thing with Omega that's so different from anybody else. He's more into being in Japan than he is into being in the States or in Canada. He's from Winnipeg. Yeah. And actually has Chris Jericho's voice box. I mean, he couldn't sound more like Chris Jericho, particularly, WCW Nitro Chris Jericho.
No, he does, though.
But anyways, Omega likes being in Japan more than he likes being in North America, which is the complete opposite with everybody else. Everybody else is over there to make their money and then come home. Omega's quite happy staying there. He was taken under the wing of Kota Ibushi. The story of Kenny Omega that's so cool is that DDT, and I've mentioned them on the show before, Dramatic Dream Team is what it stands for. And it's a fun promotion. It's not a serious promotion, but it does have a lot of very good, serious wrestlers in it. But they're not afraid to have fun and show ass and just be ridiculous, as you saw by Joey Ryan. I mean, that's not something that's completely out of the ordinary. Kota Ibushi and Kenny Omega have both had matches with a blow-up doll, which is actually a character in the promotion. And they've just kind of played up like it's a real person. They've done all kinds of things. Like instead of doing a slap fest or, in a Japanese match where they do the forearm, I hit you with my forearm, you hit you with your forearm, we go back and forth. They did that exact same sequence, but with kissing. And Kota Ibushi was one of the guys in the match. And he kissed, and then I'll put this one on our website or on our Facebook page or Twitter or something.
I need to see this.
And I forget who it was that he was in the match with, but it was like he did a kiss, and then the other guy did a kiss. It started with like light kisses, and then it got more and more aggressive. It was really funny, and that's what they do. They have fun. But the way that Kenny kind of got his break, you could say, he was a fan of this promotion in Japan, which was very underground, called DDT, their top star being Kota Ibushi. And he put a video on YouTube where he basically was challenging Kota Ibushi, and he did this wrestling sequence with his buddy, and they contacted him. And they brought him in for this match with Kota Ibushi, and they hit it off immediately, became instant friends, formed the tag team, the Golden Lovers. Like I say, DDT is not afraid to have some fun and be ridiculous. So they were called the Golden Lovers, Kota Ibushi and Kenny Omega. And then, I mean, they even came into New Japan, like during certain times, former junior heavyweight champions. And so that's kind of like Kenny's very interesting way of coming into the company. And then here he is now, and he's like top guy, top foreign star, in the whole company. I mean, he's really come a long way. But the difference, I mean, getting back to your comment that someone's going to steal him up, not to say it won't happen. And I think there's a risk of that happening with anybody that's good. But just the fact that he's already been in WWE, he was in developmental. I know the developmental in those days, Deep South or whatever it was, completely night and day from what it is today. I think Kenny would have a lot more fun now in NXT than he ever had in those days. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, it's a different atmosphere, and they look at talent different, too. And Kenny's kind of now got a higher profile. But I just think if there's one guy that will hold out and stay in Japan, it's going to be Omega, because he just is so much a part of that. And I think he really considers himself, speaks fluent Japanese. I just think he considers himself a Japanese wrestler. And he has always said he always wanted to be a Japanese wrestler. Yeah. So
there is a pay-per-view on Sunday.
Shit. Really?
Yes, there is.
Oh, Jesus.
And Kalisto will be defending his US title on the kickoff show against Alberto.
Okay, sorry.
Against Alberto. In a 2 out of 3 falls match. And I was wondering what your thought was of those two guys doing a 2 out of 3 falls match.
I love everything those guys do in the ring, don't get me wrong. But to me, those guys are the never 6-man titles. They just are just trading this thing back and forth. And it's really brought Alberto down. The Alberto thing has been a complete botch, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And that's not to say there hasn't been some cool moments, but if you really look at it and you think of what he was coming back after, the whole publicity, how big that whole story got a while ago, and how much buzz there was about it, they did not capitalize on it at all.
No, they didn't.
And I'm not saying you had to come out there and have him be like, yeah, I'll slap you again or something like that. But I mean, at least play the guy up like a badass and have him come back and have people be afraid of him. Like, do something, because the guy, to me, Alberto has delivered on all levels. His promos have been great. His wrestling has been great. He looks great. He looks in great shape. What's the problem here? And it brings me back to something that, Shan was talking about on Super Show last week. We were talking about Daniel Bryan and when he was going to go to New Japan, and the crowd was chanting Daniel Bryan in the crowd, on the Raw show in the main event segments, even though he's not under contract anymore. So they felt like, shit, we got to get this guy. And Shan kind of he couldn't quite put the two together of you are, making him a priority to get him, but then you don't do anything with him. A lot of times, you don't necessarily get somebody with all these great plans of what you want to do with them.
You do something that you sign them to keep them away from somebody else.
Thank you. And the Daniel Bryan thing was just that. I mean, when you're a monopoly, you don't want competition. So AJ Styles, was he brought in because they had all these great ideas for him, or was he brought in so that he couldn't be anywhere else and help other places?
Here's the thing. AJ, I believe, was brought in to do something. As to what it is, I don't know yet.
AJ also got the deal he got because there were so many soldiers down.
That's right. Alberto, I believe completely in what you just said about he was signed to keep him away from somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to look at everybody like, okay, well, we can't let anybody get traction. Alberto was hardly like doing big business or changing business in AAA. But again, like you say, sometimes it's just as much about keeping people that are stars and that are talented away from everybody else and just having everything, in-house. So,
well, it's hell, I think to a point, right at this point, it's the same damn thing with Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is a draw and a talent, but I don't believe he's the draw that they thought he was, and he's being kept away from UFC.
The thing is, that's hard to say because he was a noticeable draw when he first came back.
Yes.
And the first few pay-per-views with Brock on them, you could see the difference. You could see the bump.
Yeah.
And this is pre-network days.
But now you have network. And the push is network.
And you got to ask yourself, is that because the fans got used to seeing Brock and it wasn't special anymore? Or Was it because he lost to John Cena in his first match? He lost to Triple H? And
No.
and all of that stuff was just them cutting off their nose to spite their face.
You've put Brock in the Royal Rumble. He got jobbed. Going forward to now, you put Brock out on TV. You had him get punched in the groin by Dean Ambrose and fall over. And now you're going to go into a triple threat match where I'm pretty sure he's not going to win.
I got to ask you a question, and I have made it a real point lately to not beat the dead horse that is Roman Reigns.
Okay.
Because every week it's the same rant.
Yes, it is.
And for good reason, but at the same time it gets tiresome. It gets redundant.
Yes.
And I really wanted to chill on that. I felt like not just us, but all the millions of podcasts out there, it's just been beaten to the ground. There's nothing new to say about it.
No.
But at the same time, I do have to ask you, what's going on with Roman Reigns right now, Sean?
I don't know, because this week on TV, they changed direction, clearly.
Okay, well, tell me about it and tell me what you think.
There was a promo with Paul Heyman, called out Roman Reigns, that talked about you can have your family or your friends, and if you have your family, then you can be successful. If you have your friends, then great, but you don't have success. I looked at what they did on Monday night with Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman as I think they've switched direction. I don't necessarily believe that Roman is going to win that match as a babyface. He may win, but it won't be as a babyface.
You're in dangerous territory, Mr. Cunningham.
I am. I understand that. But if I look at the promo between him and Paul, and I look at the way that Dean has been positioned...
Let me rephrase this. Your credibility is in dangerous territory, Mr. Cunningham.
Yes, I understand that as well.
As much as it makes complete sense, and as much as the television may have told you that this week, you know what was just bizarre to me? And this is the kind of thing where I can't wrap my head around it. I cannot imagine any other top babyface doing this. No way in hell can I imagine John Cena going to his number 2 babyface in the company and saying, hey, I hear Brock's here. Let's go get him. What?
Yeah.
You and your buddy are going to go jump Brock Lesnar? And you're the top babyface in the company?
Yeah.
What's babyface about that?
Nothing.
You're a puss. Anybody that jumps somebody with more than just yourself is a coward.
That's right.
In my mind. If you're jumping one guy,
Yep.
Roman and Dean are cowards.
Yes.
Well, Dean's not really a coward. I can't blame Dean for that.
No, because Dean's like,
he'd do it on his own.
Yeah,
he'd do it on his own. And there's been a lot of criticism about his character.
And that's the way that he's being positioned, too.
And I haven't had no problem with it. I've heard a million people criticize about it, and that's fine. But he doesn't care. He doesn't care if he gets beat up. And people can say, well, that's an unrealistic character. No, it's not, actually. I know a lot of guys like that.
No, it's totally realistic. What are you talking about?
I know guys that will walk up to the toughest guy at the party knowing they'll get their ass kicked.
And get their ass kicked.
And ask for an ass whooping.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's what Dean Ambrose's character is right now.
That's what his character is right now. But from watching the shows, like, where does Ambrose tie into all this? Talk to me about the pay-per-view, but also going forward into Mania.
Okay.
What the hell's going on with that?
Okay, here's my confusion right now. You've spent the last 2 Mondays devaluing Roman Reigns and keeping Roman Reigns very, very quiet.
Quiet.
The center of the last 2 Raws have been Dean Ambrose and Brock Lesnar.
I know, and that's why I'm asking you.
Or Dean Ambrose and the Authority. Dean Ambrose, they took the belt off of the Intercontinental title off of Ambrose. I understand that. Because you have to at least give the illusion that Dean may win on Sunday.
Completely agree with that.
Because I don't believe they want the Intercontinental Champion facing Triple H for the championship and devaluing that other title.
No, I completely agree. That belt was getting in the way of this program.
So they took it off of Dean. That's fine. I get it. And then you had Dean, but Dean is the one that's over as the babyface completely. Roman opened his mouth with Paul in a very serious and intense moment this week, and they booed his ass every time he opened his mouth.
It feels like when I watch the TV, like directions have changed. You're absolutely right. Roman was in the background this week.
Yep.
Ambrose was the star this week. He was the centerpiece this week. So let me just ask you a few Mania-related questions here.
Okay.
Where does Dean Ambrose fit? Because right now, I'll tell you one thing, it certainly doesn't feel like he's just all of a sudden going to be one of the guys in an Intercontinental ladder match or something like that.
No, I don't believe that.
Strowman is out.
Yes.
And if you saw his match against Big Show in the main event this week,
you understand why.
you understand why, and you're not upset.
No.
But this decision was made weeks ago. He's out of the Undertaker match, he's out of the Brock Lesnar match, and he's in the Battle Royal.
Which is fine.
That's where Strowman stands right now.
And that's about where he should be.
Kevin Owens is clearly involved with Dolph right now. Do you see that match, or that feud, should I say, extending to Mania?
Likely, because I don't believe they have any other options.
It certainly
they don't
would
have any other ideas.
It certainly would be curious to have him doing jobs to Dolph Ziggler on TV and then going and facing The Undertaker at WrestleMania.
Yes, that's not happening.
That's not necessarily Road to WrestleMania material in terms of the booking.
No.
So let's rule him out of either the Brock or Undertaker match. Is that fair?
Yes.
Bray Wyatt.
The Wyatts versus the Giants, right? And you had Show and Kane and Ryback. Three physically biggest imposing guys. I could easily see Brock or Undertaker slide into that somehow.
I do have a little information about Undertaker. He's not involved with Braun Strowman in a match at WrestleMania.
Thank you, Jesus.
What's being said right now, according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, is that Undertaker's opponent at WrestleMania will not be Kevin Owens, will not be John Cena, will not be Braun Strowman, and will be somebody not, I repeat, not on the active roster.
Okay. Not on the active roster. Does not on the active roster include NXT?
Do you think it's Baron Corbin?
I worry it's Baron Corbin.
See, I didn't even think of that until now.
I worry it's Corbin. I don't worry so much if it's Balor, but I don't see it being Balor.
But what about Samoa Joe?
That's a good question.
If we're talking about guys from the NXT roster, we'll just sort of break this down a little bit.
Yes.
Samoa Joe.
Definitely an option.
A good option?
I think so.
Match-wise, it sure would be.
I don't know, but is it a safe option?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Who's he hurt? I know it's Undertaker, though, but...
Tyson Kidd.
Ooh, sorry, wrong question. Who else is he hurt?
Nobody yet. Okay.
Get well, Tyson, too. That sucked.
That really sucks.
But somebody not on the roster? What's Goldberg doing?
Well, I originally had Goldberg in a different slot, but that's a different thing.
Lesnar? Or
no,
Ryback?
I had him with Ryback.
And with Ryback's new gear, it really kind of feels like foreshadowing.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
They'll just have Ryback start dressing like Goldberg, and then Goldberg will come in and squash him.
Yeah, that's what I had booked too. Mm-hmm.
But that's a WWE move, you know. I could totally see that happening.
It is, totally.
Especially with so many guys down right now. Goldberg wants to wrestle again.
There were supposed to be all these legends booked for Mania. You got 6 weeks.
Goldberg is like the last legend. Sting, no.
Sting, no.
Sting is just not... I don't think that they'll ever put him in the ring again.
No, I don't.
And I certainly hope not. The guy's, you know...
I think you're doing the Hall of Fame induction. That's kind of the sign. Like
that's great.
You're not going in.
You think Bryan will be inducted?
Next year.
Is that a mistake?
No.
Is the momentum and the buzz this year?
No. Because I don't think anybody thought he'd be available to be inducted this year. So I think by having it next year, you have a big star to use as a draw for ticket sales.
But, I mean, who else do you have? You're going to draw the whole thing on Sting?
No, I don't know who else they have, but they clearly had an idea going into this.
Who is your other top big name star?
I don't know.
Who could you induct?
That's what I've been trying to figure out since they announced Sting. It's like, if you're going to have 4 or 5 people go in, who else are they inducting?
Well, that's why I say Daniel Bryan.
No, and I wonder about that now that you say it. But clearly they had a plan before Bryan retired to induct other people.
You're giving them a lot of credit, but okay.
They must.
I mean, they have ideas of guys they're going to induct, but it's not like this. WrestleMania is not fucking locked in right now. You think the Hall of Fame is locked in?
Okay, but I thought the Hall of Fame might be more locked in than Mania because it's a little easier to get retired people to show up to an event in a tuxedo.
It's not as big of a deal next year as it is this year.
No, and I understand that.
You know, it's not as emotional next year as it is this year.
No, and I think you might be right now that I reassess that idea.
It happens, Sean. Sometimes I'm actually right about something. Anything else on the show that you're looking forward to?
That I'm looking forward to? Okay, I tell you what I'm not looking forward to after bad promos, and I have a question. The Charlotte and Brie Bella match.
I love Charlotte now. I think she's been great. Her as a heel is just so much more natural. Brie Bella I'm sorry, but she sucks.
I understand why they're taking advantage of. I get it, but they need to go back to the other program really soon.
You know that she's on her way out.
Yes.
So, I mean, this is her on her way out. Does she make it until Mania? I mean, it would make sense to get that Mania payday.
And the other thing I was going to say, we go through this pay-per-view. There's not a whole lot going on this Sunday, but there is Edge and Christian doing a segment. Okay? Doing their little talk show segment. And it's actually being promoted as it's going to take actual event time.
Oh, this is going to be on the show.
It's not going to be on the kickoff show. It's going to be on the show. Why? To promote the comedy show that airs after the pay-per-view?
Yeah, that's it.
That's what that's for.
What, their show airs after?
Yeah.
That show's so bad.
That Edge and Christian
Holy
comedy thing.
They need to get Brian Gewirtz to write that shit, bro, because they ain't got it anymore.
No, you've seen the little clip of that? That doesn't look good.
Oh, dude. That's worse.
Like,
that's worse than Swerved.
Swerved is horrible. I can't even watch that thing.
My wife loves it.
Really?
But she loves any show like that. She loves gags, you know, like Just for Laughs gags.
Okay. That's actually good though.
It is funny as shit, isn't it? Bunch of Montreal Frenchies just playing tricks on each other.
Every world comes to Montreal that summer. It's like you're gonna get good shit.
Yeah.
And Dolph and Kevin Owens are gonna be matching tonight because they'll be one of the only matches with actual wrestling in it.
Give me your unbiased opinion of AJ Styles so far, his run in the WWE since the Royal Rumble.
I like it. I like what they're doing.
Any red flags starting to come up at all for you?
I'm not gonna lose my shit over the loss to Jericho. I don't think it doesn't devalue him, because clearly I think it leads to something. Like I read everybody when Jericho won last week, I read a bunch of people losing their shit, going AJ shouldn't have lost clean. What the fuck? Shouldn't have lost it all. The usual crap that we always see.
Which I completely agree with. But I mean, you don't have to lose your shit over it, but.
No, but
it doesn't help anything. Don't fool yourself.
I don't think it devalues him, really.
It doesn't devalue him. You're going to one extreme or the other. And what I'm saying is it doesn't help him.
No, it doesn't help.
To have already lost clean on TV.
Well, no, but it's different. Losing to Jericho, I think, is fine. Losing to Miz would have been death nail.
They're addicted to even Steven, though.
Yeah, I know.
They can't have anyone get any kind of significant win.
No, I know.
Without thinking, oh shit, now we have to even out the playing field.
Well, that's why I'm convinced even, the U.S. title match is 2 to 3 falls. I'm convinced because Alberto pinned him on Monday, clean, that Kalisto wins 2 to 3 falls.
Yeah.
Because that's the way they book.
I think so.
The only match I haven't really figured out is the triple threat match.
Should we try to make some kind of prediction for how this match goes down?
Okay, what do you have? Hopefully you have something better than I have.
What I had was that Roman, Dean, Brock, I figured Brock would be neutralized and taken out of the match by the Wyatts. After he had already given the F5 to Dean, Roman was going to have that, inner conflict. Do I pin my friend or not? But the title's on the line, so he pins his friend. And then goes on, beats Triple H, but all the while, Dean Ambrose is sort of, macho,
Yeah.
macho man when he was giving Hogan the dirty looks for that long, awesome build. It's going to be pretty obvious that he's bitter about it.
Yep.
Which he should be, because the Survivor Series match was horseshit. And then after Mania, maybe the next night on Raw, you have him come out and turn completely psychotic heel. You have him talking about being in his shadow. You talk about all this stuff. You talk about, I carried the shield. You talk about, you don't have the killer instinct. I do. Only reason I'm not the guy is because I look the way I look and you look the way you look with your fucking Pantene hair.
Yes.
Right? Something like that.
Yeah.
But then, so great. Only one problem. Roman's not over as a babyface, and Dean is.
So I don't think that even works.
So especially the night after Mania, what's that crowd going to be like? You think they're going to boo Ambrose?
Lord.
They're going to boo Ambrose for beating the hell out of Roman and wrapping barbed wire around his head?
They're going to cheer.
They're going to cheer him like he's Austin. And
that might be where they're going.
That was, to me, the most logical thing, because you've got these two friends and they've really played that up, two buddies, and are you guys going to be able to put your friendship aside and all that stuff?
At this point, I almost have Roman aligning with Paul.
That's what I mean, is that a couple weeks ago it all seemed pretty clear that Dean was in there to take the fall, but also to be resentful.
Yeah.
and that blah, 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 Roman goes on like we always knew, and he goes against Triple H and wins the title, and the confetti falls, and nobody cares.
Which is a problem.
If you do it right, anything's possible, but just they don't have a real track record with Roman for doing things right. They did that one thing right when he won the title from Sheamus, and the night before at the pay-per-view, that was like a flawless 24 hours, and it really seemed like they turned the corner. And then they just dropped the ball over and over again. So the way I feel now, to me, it certainly feels like Ambrose is number one babyface now. Like, I mean, the way it was being presented.
But, so does Ambrose have to go over now?
If not that, is there something where he ends up in a triple threat? Because we still haven't found out what he's doing at Mania.
No, and that's the other thing I thought about, too.
Does it end up a triple threat? But we just did a triple threat. That's the thing. We're doing a triple threat
to get to here.
To get to a triple threat.
Yeah, so I don't see that one working out either.
You have a lot of questions here that we're coming up with. I know Brock is facing Luke Harper at the Toronto show, the network special.
Yes.
Which, again, if you look at that, you'll think, okay, well, that means that he is facing the Wyatt. However, these cards came out ages ago.
And they could have changed.
Just because that was made weeks ago doesn't mean that's the plan now that he's facing Bray, because we know how much things have changed. By the time we get
to mid-March.
And yeah, even if it is, exactly, even if it is, it could change again. So I don't necessarily put too much stock in that. Is Bray facing Brock, or is Brock facing Roman, and Dean is facing Triple H? Again, I've heard nothing, ladies and gentlemen.
That would actually make sense.
I've heard nothing, absolutely nothing in terms of concrete evidence of this happening. But at the same time, it almost feels like stop the insanity. Like, what is going on? And it feels like watching the shows that Roman is now in Dean's shadow in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Am I alone in that? Because that's what I really felt watching it.
No, you're not. I felt that way too, especially the last 2 weeks.
And just Dean's sort of fearlessness towards Brock. Like, the match I want is Brock and Dean.
Yeah.
That's the match, folks. Because if it's still Roman and H, and we're going through with the status quo and the plan as it was, but with Brock and Ambrose, that's a logical match. That's a match that I think a lot of people would really love, and it would be a great match with a lot of heat.
And I think that's what's likely, if you look at the way everything's being positioned, unless, like I said, Roman turns, because you're not going to have a heel Mania main event.
So if Roman turns, what are we doing?
Roman and Brock and Dean and H.
Dean and H. Oh, yeah, Roman and Brock, Dean and H.
Dean and H.
So Roman's a heel going against a baby Brock.
Yes. Likely with Paul with Roman.
I mean, as much as it's better than what they have planned, I don't see that either. This is actually going to be an interesting pay-per-view, folks. Check it out. WWE Fastlane. Let's give them lots of promotion.
On the network.
Like they need it. Anyways, we will check out the show. We'll be back again with you next week for Vintage Update, talking about Fastlane, talking about where they decided to go in the booking for this triple threat match, because it almost feels like anything's possible, Sean.
They certainly put that idea in everybody's head.
But before we get out of here, just want to say, and I'm very, very ashamed of myself for not saying it last week, happy belated birthday to the big homie, Luigi Tyrone, DJ LT. Check him out on our website, WrestlingAudioRevolution.com. DJ LT's Dance Party. It is one of the non-wrestling podcasts, but if you like to just put on a good mix of music, it's a great podcast, usually about an hour long. He also has his Bald Thoughts video blog, which are super entertaining.
Yes, they are.
Has on our website as well. So just be sure to check him out. But I just want to say, brother, hope you had a great birthday. So, my man, take care of yourself. Sunday night,
I will be live on Twitter at @War_Commissioner. Live coverage of Fastlane.
From myself, from the Heartbreak host, Sean Michael Cunningham, we want to say peace, love,
Wrestling, Evolution.
You know what? D-R-A-B-T-A-T-F-T-A-K-S.